Lightning like Steve McQueen, I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit, cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly, better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder, and I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. What do I mean by that? I mean that anybody who comes on my show is active in the transportation industry. These are the individuals who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, you guys, so we can put the right information out there that you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business, in your life. It's one of the many reasons why I probably fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you guys live yours as well. I got a very special show. I'm going to bring my guest up here in a second. You guys might want to get out a towel and get ready to do some push-ups, because you're going to run through a fucking wall when we're done with this show today. But before I do anything, as always, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And the best part with what they have, you guys, is you get paid to move these trailers. So if you're a small fleet, if you're an owner op right now and your trailer's in the shop, you don't have to shut your operation down. This is additional revenue for your business. So what they're working on is they have West Valley City, Utah, going up to Calgary, Alberta, and you get $1,550 US to move these trailers. And then finally, they have a massive trailer pool in Paragould, Arkansas. You can create drop trailer capacity at your large enterprise shippers, or you can sell on this to get these in the door. They pick up in Paragould, Arkansas, and they need to move into Mississauga, Ontario. But that doesn't mean you have to have the shipper in Paragould, you guys. You go to Nashville with it, Louisville, Cincinnati, wherever it is. It just has to end up in Canada, and you get 1,000 Canadian to do that. So hit them up, you guys, vhubapp.com. My friends Xavier Campos and Stacy Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor, let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Sonny Sharma, good fucking Wednesday morning. All freight moving champs, let's go. He says, Drew Driscoll, what is up, dude? Good to see you. Dr. Cameron Todd, what is up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Zach Williams, he says, good morning, freight fam. He's with SPI Logistics. You guys want to become a freight agent, take control of your financial future, join the team. Tracy St. Clair, good morning. She's watching over on YouTube. You guys, I stream live over there as well. All right, I'm gonna bring my guest on right now. You guys are gonna get ready to just get fucked up with some truth. So I got my man Brent Orsuga. What is up, Brent? It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, anytime. It's always good to have you on the show, and really just to bring a lot of needed reality into what is the market looks like out there. And you know, I think that this is where and I've been saying this for a while, man. This is where the real players are going to show up and really make their mark when it comes to, you know, selling and onboarding new customers and everything. So, like, what are you seeing out there right now? What has been that massive paradigm shift between 6 to 8 months ago and present day?
It's very simple: sales versus ops. Right.
Yeah.
Because again, we're coming off of a run of all runs where, again, we've said this 1,000 times. You had a service, not sell. The freight was there, 100 boats in Long Beach. It was really just who could operate the most efficiently from that standpoint. We really started to see the shift occur in around October. So let's just call it Q4. And it has not tapered off by any means. It is sales, sales, sales. And when I mean sales, I mean individuals who can actually turn on new customers, generate revenue, right? And so this is at a demand like we've never seen before. Polar opposite from where you were 12, 18, let alone 24 months ago, night and day.
Yeah. It's wild because, like, you know, all the headlines and all the shit that you see out there, I think like that all we're seeing is what it normally takes to onboard customers and do this job. Like, I never had I was never good, right? Like, I have to work really fucking hard to get business. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I have some secret sauce or anything other than the fact that I know my prospects. I study the people that I'm going after. And literally, you know, when you hear that, you're like, oh, I don't have the time. It takes 3 minutes. Go to their website. You can find everything you need to know. Social media, utilize LinkedIn. It has everything on there. So for you to sit there and rely on those old habits, because I think, like, as we were talking before we started recording, I think what happened was there was an influx of individuals who got in when it was high and it was easy. It was just like the real estate market, right? How many realtors and mortgage brokers do you know when the housing market's hot? Fucking a million. And I think like what it is though, is now we're in a position where it's like, if somebody's going to pay you, you better bring your A game every situation.
Yeah. I think the expectations are just much higher right now. You hit it on the head because exactly what you said, you had a lot of people that came in during a time period where it was easy. So you have to understand too, some of this is not the fault of the individual. Some of this you honestly do have to put back on the companies a little bit. Yeah. What was the onboarding? What was the training? Was there continual training? Were you actually developing these individuals, or in theory, were they just glorified account managers who all of a sudden come October, they're being asked to flip a switch. Oh, now you got to go generate a ton of freight, a ton of revenue, but they didn't have the skills. So again, I can't fault people for, you don't know what you don't know, but I feel like this is where a lot of the disconnect is in the industry. Everybody wants the plug and play, the book of business, all these massive things day one, but you're dealing sometimes with a generation or a bunch of people who this is the first hard market they've gone through. And unfortunately, a lot of them are being exposed.
Yeah, that's very true. Robert Powell says first time here. Robert, thanks for joining in, man. Dan Penrod says morning, gents. Angel Garvin, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. LinkedIn user says, let's fucking go. Whoever LinkedIn user is, you guys got to update your security settings. James Jackson says, what's going on? Brent Orsuga, Louis Montano, what's up? Good morning, brother. Yeah, dude, I think, you hit the nail on the head there. I've seen this, fortunately I talked to a lot of people, and it seems that training is something that's thrown to the wayside, right? Because it's that old school mentality of just put bodies in seats and let them call. And that used to work like it did. When I first got in the industry, that worked, right? Like it was like, hey, just start calling people for the sake of calling. But it has evolved so much over, I would say, the last 3 to 4 years. And I think what you're coming off of now is when the market was as uncertain as it was for these last couple of years, as high as it was, if you didn't show up when it was easy, you got fucking kicked out right when that market shifted, right when that market softened up. They're only working with people who are bringing actual substance right now. They're not going to, and you can tell, right? Because like, again, I'm not here to toot my own horn. I'm not here to do anything other than bring you guys information because I'm in it right now, right? Like I'm building my book of business. We're onboarding shippers right now. We're getting responses from prospects right now. We're having conversations with them. Why is that? I'm not fucking throwing a wide net out there. I'm very direct on why I'm reaching out to them. I'm not talking about, hey, I could save you a little bit of money, or, hey, look at this. No, it's, I've been doing this for a long time. This is my specialty. This is the areas I like to run. These are the commodities that I've ran. It aligns with your current product. Let's talk.
Well, I think you hit it on the head. I think the number one thing that not only individuals, but companies have to identify is like, what's our thing? Where are we really good at? You can't just use the word, we're a 3PL, we're a brokerage, but what does that really mean as you peel back the layers? Are you really dangerous in truckload? Is LTL your thing? Are you stronger in flatbed versus reefer? What is your identity? And then also break it down to lanes. Look, I'm really good on the West Coast, Southern region. We have the best carrier relationships. So you can't expect people to go out there and market themselves, market the company if they don't know the strengths. Yeah. Every company has an identity. Every company should be able to know exactly where they are the most dangerous, where they can play, have the most competitive pricing, most carriers in the network. I would push back and say, everyone on your team, do they know that? Is there a proper playbook in place? We use a lot of sports analogies. Yep. Is there a playbook in place where everybody's saying the same thing? There's a narrative, it's consistent, or do you have 20 people doing 20 different things? Yeah. You have to have consistency in order to go to the market the proper way. This, I think, is a big disconnect that's out there.
I think it's a massive disconnect. I think it's just the casting a wide net. It's been like, people are chasing freight markets and everything else. And it's a fatal error. It's a fatal error in business, and it's like, and if you look at the most successful companies that are out there, like you look at a company like a Martin Refrigerated, for example, out of Mondovi, Wisconsin, because they've been crushing it over these last couple of years. 85% of their business is refrigerated freight, right? Like if you look at the largest providers out there, they were built off of one core competency. So I don't know where the narrative has shifted, and I don't know why it shifted out there. Because it's like you're chasing after stuff, and the problem, and dude, I remember you're the first person who told me this, is the problem with low hanging fruit is everyone can grab it,
right?
And most people can't break through that initial layer. Is they get stuck in there, and then they get consumed with the fact that they think they're busy because they have people sending them or talking to them.
Well, and Chris, we've talked about this too. To me, there's a big difference. I've said this 1,000 times between being a partner and a vendor. And you have to ask yourself, as you're developing this book of business, which one do you think they would describe you as? See, a vendor is selling on price. They're on an email with 15 other brokerages. They're hot that day. That's a vendor. A partner is a solution specialist. A partner is where there's a relationship in place. These companies are saying, Chris, you're our guy. You know us better than anybody. Find a solution. Handle this for me. And you know what? Sometimes you got to take a loss. You got to go out and course correct things, but you're playing the long game too. You got to remember too that everything you do has a 30 to 90 day lag. Mm-hmm. The seeds that you plant today are going to pop down the road. Everybody's trying to get quick hits, quick wins, right? And it doesn't work that way. And so I think people underestimate very much the amount of energy, the amount of focus, the amount of intentionality, the amount of contacts that it takes to win at a big level. This is not something where you can just go on 4 or 5 calls, a couple of emails, and win big. Mm-hmm. This is absolutely the time where everybody all working harder sometimes to get the same result that we got last year.
Yeah.
But we're not complaining. We're not playing victim card. We're not watching CNN and pointing fingers. You own it. We're all in it. Some people are winning. Some are not. This is separation time. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
You can't use excuses. That's what drives me nuts with people too.
Yeah, there is so much of that goes on too. Cause like, you know, it's the expectation that it should be easy, right? Like it's, you know, I see this often is, you know, it is hard, right? Like it is hard to sell a service, especially in brokerage, right? Because we don't have a tangible product, right? Like I don't have like, okay, yeah, you might be able to show them your fancy software, but let's be honest, it doesn't fucking matter at the end of the day, because if your trucks can't show up, it's irrelevant. As a broker, you need to position again, it's that subject matter expert. They're not just going to set people up. If you don't know their business as well as they do, or have a very base level understanding of how they're going to operate, there's no real value in talking to you. And that comes through in your messaging. Cause I look at it like this, like for how challenging it is, the fact that it is hard out there right now. If you are sending a copy and paste solicitation email out there, you think they don't know that you're sending that to literally everybody? You don't think that stands out to them? Is it's like, because I look at it like this, man, if you're not going to personalize a message to somebody, and I learned this over these last couple of years, I didn't apply this when I was brokering prior. This came from building up my business these last couple of years and really having to get noticed, because like I had no fucking revenue or money at all. I had to generate it out of thin air. I had to get creative, man. I had to get creative. I had to find a way to stand out. And that comes across in your messaging too. You can tell when you're reading an email that is the exact same email that's clearly sent. And if you can't even fucking put their own name in it and you're like, good morning, and that's it, like, come the fuck on.
Well, Chris, look, I don't care if it's dating. I don't care if it's interviewing. I don't care if it's going in sales. You got 30 seconds. Yeah. You got 30 seconds to make an impression, and then people just justify their decision they've made the rest of the time. So here's the other thing too. Not only do you have to come in with intentionality, you have to come in with a purpose, but you know, I've always come from a place too that like you have to role play before you get on the call.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a telemarketing type environment where people are on an auto dialer where it's just ring, pick up, ring, pick up. You're actually making intent, right? And so you have to ask yourself that too. Like, what is my mindset around this phone call? Am I educated on the purpose behind the call? Do I know who I'm speaking to? Do I know how to get past the gatekeeper? Have I done my due diligence? Is my spiel and script down? Do I know exactly the framework that I'm going to come into this call? Am I role playing the call in my mind? Am I expecting to win? Do I know our rates for the day? Think about this. How many people are breaking it down there? That's before you get on the call. Mm. You know, so many people just wing it. You saw the video I did yesterday about energy. How many people are just monotone? Oh, I'm just going through the motions, another call. I don't really know what's going on. The market sucks. What in the heck do you expect going to happen? See, there's some people that are absolutely playing offense, and there's people that are playing defense. The people that play an offense absolutely have intention. I know what I'm pursuing. I know where we're good. We're going to have a very high level contact. I have 30 seconds to make an impression. I know everything about what you do and why I'm going to be the person to solve your problem. Is that fair? Does that sound good? Are we aligned? You have to learn to ask yes questions like this too. You got to be able to get into a rhythm with these people. So many people are just trying to hit, and this is a tennis match. It's back and forth, but you got to serve first.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim Bannon, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Brenda Melville says, let's fucking go. Javier Hernandez, what is up? That's actually my wife's cousin. Thanks for tuning in, Javier. Cody Miller, good fucking morning. Jerome Jones, he's watching over on YouTube. Good morning. Joseph Metten says, great show. Freight Sensei says, so much truth and going on. Frank McCabe, focus on strategic moves. Seems to be a dying art. Amen to that, Frank. Andre Stewart, what's going on, man? He says, good morning, folks. Part of a great show. Happy Wednesday out there. LinkedIn user says, hashtag delete to copy and pasted sales emails. I think that's Matt Fink, because he can't, for some reason, he can't not be a LinkedIn user. Robert Powell says, as a company driver that works for a big company that specializes in open deck and dry van, what can I do to find customers? Robert, dude, my best advice in that one, since you do work for a large company, is I would talk to them first. If you were an owner op, man, I would be all about going out there and finding those direct relationships yourself. But again, dude, I don't want to get you in trouble and say, hey, go do this. And then all of a sudden you're like, bro, got fucking fired. So dude, I would talk to them first, but I think drivers getting out and meeting people out there in the real world like that, man, is only going to be good for you. Zach Perlman is LinkedIn user.
And Chris, here you go. What's our guy Brad Lee say? The more hands you shake, the more money you make. Again, it goes down to the fact that this is a high contact sport. This is a numbers game. Welcome to the world of sales. There is no SDR. You're not going into an environment where you're just going to sit back and get leads. You're an account manager at that point. This is an aggressive environment where the winners are going to win and the losers are going to lose. The more that you wake up and realize that, the more that is out there for you to take. I should actually be excited. If I'm in sales right now, I'm excited. You know why I'm excited? Because if I can win right now, what do you think it's going to be like when it flips? Because it will flip. We're not going through anything that nobody has experienced before, right? The smart ones of us, do you ever see you complaining? Do you ever see me? Woe is me. Am I playing victim? The world's falling apart. Holy smoke. There's no companies hiring. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So you got to understand from a mindset standpoint, what approach am I taking throughout the day? There's freight out there. People are winning. I know people doing 100, 200 grand a month in GP every single month, including right now. I also know people doing 2 and 3. Who do you think the opportunities are going to go to? It's not about the economy. It's not about the company. It's always about you. Stop pointing the finger and go look in the mirror. Are your skills better? What are you doing behind the scenes? Are you studying the market? Do you know everything possible to be as valuable to the people you serve as possible? You don't want them to call somebody else. It's hard enough to get somebody on the phone, seize that moment, and seize that opportunity.
God, if you guys aren't ready to make fucking cold calls after this one, I don't know what the fuck you're going to need to get amped up.
Well, and here's the deal, too. If you're in an office environment, look around you. I guarantee you it is dead silent. People are distracted because there's so much.
That post you put up the other day was so fucking true.
I think this is the easiest time to win. I think if you really look around your office, I think it's very easy to stand up, have some energy, make some calls, be locked in, have some wins, celebrate some wins. I don't care if you hit a gong or not. Let people know that you have some momentum. It's a separator. You don't think your leadership's going to see that? You don't think that you're going to get on the radar for recruiters like ourselves that understand who's winning out there? People underestimate what goes on behind the scenes. You have no idea how many text messages I get behind every single day. I can send one text on anybody in the industry and get intel in 2 seconds. I know who the hitters are. People talk.
Dude, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because there's people out there. I get DMs all the time, man, from individuals who they were laid off. They're on the job market right now, and it's competitive, and they want to stand out. How can they, maybe they don't, the best resume, whatever that looks like. They're like, I got to fucking change something because I'm not getting any traction. What is appealing right now out there?
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you that the biggest conversation that I have a lot of to be able to clearly articulate what your thing is. Are you operations? Are you sales? Are you in management? Are you a player coach? It's okay to have different versions of yourself and different characters that you've established, but you cannot go on a phone call and be a utility player. Think about baseball. Who gets the big contracts? Position players.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the person that can cover all 9 bases.
Yeah. I mean, with that being said, though, I think that there's a lot of people out there, and I'd like your insight on this. Doesn't matter that you have, my gut tells me this. It doesn't matter if you have 10, 15 years experience. Are you really willing to bet on yourself? And are you willing to take an entry level job right now? Is that happen, or is it not there yet in the market where like, fucking, if you're going to come in, it's going to be at this?
Here's the hard part about that. Number one, the offers and the big money is absolutely still out there, because what you have to understand is actually right now, there's more of a demand and more of a premium being paid for the plug and play than ever before. The Freight 101 model's kind of gone, right? Like no one has time and patience for that, because companies can't afford during the season that we're in. That's all we're talking about is this season. They can't afford 3, 6, 8 months of losses. So if you're producing, this is actually prime time for you to understand what's going on out there. If you're coming off the bench, it is hard, and I hate to use this analogy, but Josh on our side even said it and it hit home. What happens the minute you drive a car off the lot? Loses value.
Yeah.
The minute you go to the bench, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just telling you the reality, you lose a little bit of leverage. You can't huff and puff and ask for those big dollars that once you were. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean you don't have skill sets. The market, not myself, dictates a lot of this. Yeah. So if there's ever a good time to go on opportunities, it's when you're employed. If you're unemployed, look, I don't pay people's mortgages. I don't know their monthly nut, right? They got to cover what they got to cover. But I think as you go through your search, again, it's going to boil down to how do I clearly define exactly what I am? So when I'm getting on these calls, I'm answering every question. I'm the guy. I'm the gal. This is what I do. This is what you need. This is where I need to be. Are we on the same page? And the lucky part about working with someone like ourselves, brother, we're having those conversations in email number 1. This is where the person's expectations are.
Yeah.
If those are off, why even get on the phone call? If we're going to go through 3 weeks and be 20, 30, 40 grand away, it doesn't even make sense in my mind. Yeah. But in order to ask for those big dollars, you have to be able to back it up with supportive data. No, I don't, Chris, I don't look at resumes. I don't care about resumes. What do I always say? I care about the person, not the paper. You know what I care about? Stats. I care about stories. I care about success stories. I care about the individual. I want to know what you've done the last 6 months. Give me some accounts that you've worked with, right? Show me how you've moved the needle. Give me something to work with, not just, hey, I need a job. Yeah. If you get a job, you treat it as such. That doesn't excite anybody.
I think of it like this right now. In today's market, today's day and age, it's very similar to what it was in early 2020 and stuff like that. It kind of get those same vibes right now. For those of you out there who might be out of a job, you might be out there looking. If you're, and this is just coming from my own personal experience, when I was out of a job at the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't know what the fuck was that. Every opportunity I thought I had was in unison out the fucking window. And I started my company. And now you might not want to start that's fine. I'm not telling you to start a business and fucking do any of that. But you might need to look at it like this. If you were making, say, $250,000, right? You were making $250K. Bet on you to do it again. It might come in a commission-only role or a lower base salary, but there's a higher upside in a commission structure. You're going to get really fucking uncomfortable, right? It's going to take that, though. There's a lot of power in those moments, you guys. Don't discredit that. Don't necessarily seek comfort. Again, like, Brent, I don't know what your fucking monthly bills are, but there's a lot of power in seeing that, hey, my monthly number is only 5,000 and my bills are at 10. If that doesn't fucking light a fire under your ass to show up and fucking perform, harsh reality is nothing will. All right.
You hit it on the head, man. I mean, there's nothing more to identify yourself than when you put your back against the wall and you have to win, right? Like, The universe rewards those that take that leap. And look, yourself, myself, man, when it came to business, I built the plane on the runway. That's the reality, man. We just took that jump, right? So, look, not everybody's in that situation. I get that. And you and I talk about this all the time. Instagram gives people a fake reality of entrepreneurship. This is a lot harder than the internet is going to lead it to believe, right? You got to be built the right way to go through some adversity and grit and all this stuff. It's very real. No one shows you that side of things.
Yeah.
But you got to understand too, there are opportunities like that. Those can be filler positions, right? And it also allows you the opportunity to kind of stay in the game. You don't want to get rusty, right? Relationships can get rusty because they're not stopping to use somebody. They're stopping to use you.
Yeah.
So the more that you sit on the bench, the more that you're just kind of blaming things, you got to get back in the game somehow, some way. And so I agree with you, man. Get uncomfortable, take some risks, go try to be an agent, link with people like Chris. There's all kinds of opportunities out there. You just might be closing doors on some that you don't even know are out there or realistic. And those can fill voids.
Yeah.
They don't have to be a forever thing, but something's better than nothing. And again, I think you kind of can surprise yourself on who you become during that journey.
Dude, there's a lot of power in getting kicked in the fucking teeth. All right. There's a lot of power in not having that. And, the agent model you brought up, it's a great fucking opportunity for a lot of people. Cause like, if you look at it like this, you guys, I've worked out there, I've had the large books of business for another company, and I only made a small percentage of total comp overall. And to become an agent, to get 60, 70% of a cut, think about it like this. If you're out there and, to build a $10,000 a month GP book of business and you're grossing $7,000 a month at that point, that's going to take, 30, 60, 90 days or whatever. But look at it from a different angle, though. If you can bet on you, because the risk isn't necessarily there in going the agent route, because they have the technology, they have the credit, they have all the back office that you have, right? They have everything, but you keep the overwhelming majority of that. And there is so much power in that. Like, if you fucking invest in yourself for 6 months, do whatever you got to do. Right? Do whatever the fuck you got to do. If you got to get a job delivering pizzas, washing dishes, whatever the fuck it looks like, do it. Because when your ego gets in the way, because that's what it boils down to. It's your fucking ego that's stopping you in these moments. I want you to look at your child. If you have a child, or look at your spouse eating, what's going to be more painful? You getting a fucking eviction notice, or you getting fucking uncomfortable having to work some extra hours and put in some extra effort in the short term? Because that's what it fucking boils down to. I got a picture of my son eating food on my phone that I fucking look at. Do I want my son to go hungry, or do I need to get, kicked in the teeth a little bit and then rejection from business? Because it affects everybody. I don't care what anybody fucking says. Rejection sucks and it starts to weigh on you. But what sucks more? All right. What's a shittier outcome? You putting in that extra effort to make sure your family's fucking taken care of, or your kid looking you in the eye and be like, Dad, you couldn't pick up the fucking phone? Mom, you couldn't go out there and shake some more hands?
Well, Chris, and we can go down a lot of paths with that, because you saw the post I did the other day, man. These kids watch. Your family watches.
Fuck yeah.
They watch how you react to these moments, right? And so that's a really big thing that you got to take on your shoulders too, is like, you have a lot more eyeballs on you than you think, right? And so I know that's why you and I align so much, is because we're dogs, man. We're dogs. You can't buy it. You can't teach it. It's wiring that's inside of there. And we got big old reasons to win. And those reasons to win drive every activity every single day. There is no base salary in your world. I start at zero every single day. And you know what we've done since day one? This.
Yeah.
Because the skills have gotten better. The relationships have gotten better. All these things compound over time. So I don't sit around. If I'm on the bench right now, brother, it increases activity. People underestimate the amount of what I said earlier: focus, intensity, intentionality, and contacts that you have to make to drum up activity. This is not a 3-touch-a-day dynamic. Here's the other thing too, is when it comes to sales in reality, you only get so many at-bats a day.
Yeah.
That's the reality. You're not in a 30, 40 touch point potentially environment. How serious are you taking those moments? How serious are you taking those calls? If I know that I'm only getting on 5 calls a day, do you not think that I'm coming in 100% dialed in, locked in, very intentional, coming in with a purpose, expecting to win, knowing about that company, it's not as hard as people think. You hit it on the head. You cannot cut corners. You cannot be sloppy because people recognize everyone has a really high BS radar right now because so many smoke and mirror individuals are out there playing this game. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to separate, but it's all in those minor little details. And guess who it always falls back on, Chris? You.
Yep. No, it's very true. It's very true. And when it boils down to it, I know this upsets people, but frankly, I don't fucking care. There's no difference fundamentally what every single freight broker out there offers. All right. There is zero difference. I don't give a fuck about your technology. I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. There is nothing. We're all going after the same shippers. We're all sourcing the same carriers. It is that cut and dry. Shipment picks up at point A and it delivers to point B. You got a lot of bullshit you got to sift through in the early stages. But if you're truly that badass fucker that you tell yourself you are every time you look in the mirror, you will run circles around the competition right now. Because what happens when the market gets easy like it was, people get fucking lazy and they get real lazy really quick. Fat and happy is a very real thing. But if you go in there and you execute upon those soft skills, those small, minute details that most people look over, you will get in the door with the shipper or your customer or whatever, and you will fucking run laps around people in a relatively short amount of time.
Well, and here's the thing too, Chris. How many times have I said time kills all deals? Yeah, that's relevant in the recruiting space. Yeah. Time kills all deals for freight broker reps as well. Yeah. Response time is everything. It's a separator, right? Because when you're on top of your stuff, when you're responding quicker than anybody else, that's why they're coming to you. They're coming to you with a problem. How quickly can you solve a solution? Because if you're not able to solve that solution, if your pricing is not dialed in within minutes, right? If you can't find a solution very quickly, two things happen when you say no. Two things happen. Never forget this in sales. When you say no, two things happen. Number one, they call somebody else at a necessity. They have to still get their stuff done. Number two, the next time the need comes up, are you the first person that they think of? So this is why those opportunities that you have from a sales standpoint to solve a problem for somebody are essential. Not only is it about solving the problem, but it's the speed and efficiency behind it as well. These are all things as I'm going through my day, I'm mapping this out. Here's another good question to ask yourself. Am I in an environment? Am I in a company? Am I in a model where that is a reality? Because if that's not a reality, am I actually set up to win?
Yeah. No, it's very true, man. We already went over on time. I like to try and keep these at 30 minutes. Brent and I could go for like 4 fucking hours. And yes, Tim, that is true. I use it in the verb and adjective sense and all wrapped in one. But dude, how does anybody reach out to you? I know you're all over LinkedIn. I know most people know who you are, but how does anybody reach out to you if they're looking?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn's obviously the best part. You can hit me up personally under the Pinnacle Growth Advisors page. Obviously, we got a resource of individuals there. I know you and I will both be at TIA in 2 weeks out in Orlando. Looking forward to that as well. But I think that we're pretty easy dudes to get in contact with. But I can be a resource of if individuals are looking, if they're wanting to understand different models out there, what commission splits, agents. I look at myself as like a connector, right? It's not who you know, it's who I know. And I know a heck of a lot of people. So any value I can bring, I do.
I love it. Well, that's it for today, you guys. And again, if you're not ready to make cold calls and get out there after this, I don't know what to do at that one. But as always, Brent, I appreciate you joining. And as always, you guys, if you guys saw value in this, share the show, rank the show, subscribe to it out there, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, everything, you guys, because that's how we've grown. That's how we are the top show out there, is because of each and every one of you. And if you guys see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon. I don't have